What's going on, guys? It is Laser here with another weekend video analysis. It's just before noon here, and it's Saturday, April 26th. And I'm here to drop my analysis as to where I see NIO going into next week. Just to quickly address last week's video, if you watched it and you're like, haha, you were wrong. And I know I've had some people who come to me and, they've been pretty heavily criticizing my analysis. Yes, I was wrong. I was leaning bearish. This was a fake out. As you can clearly see, this yellow line was the line in the sand. This was the last line of defense here for NIO. And as soon as it broke above with authority here and clarity, I said it's looking way more bullish for the Bulls now. And from a bullish perspective, what you want to see now is that retest and that hold. So long as that holds, it opens up the possibility of seeing way higher. Now, I do want to rule out, like, there's this channel that I can draw out here. Okay, so is it back on path? Is it going to squeeze? I think if you get that retest, you'll get a much bigger move, right? But as it kind of comes up into here, and it won't be one line down, one line up, just imagine some zigzags. So before you get this big move up, you would get kind of like that zigzag move. And when I say zigzag, it's basically makes a higher low, lower high. It forms like this triangle. Then you can kind of be like, hey, look, guys, it broke out. And that's essentially how the chart works. And it'll do something like that. That's how I imagine it would do it. And so before it gets super bullish and before we can start saying, okay, guys, we're ready to squeeze, we're ready to kind of, line it up and get above 6, there are very, very important levels that we got to be watching here for NIO. Number one, a very big level for NIO is 409. 409 is a major Fibonacci level. Okay, so it needs to get above this level. And I'll just point out here, the last 2 times we broke under and went back above, that was a moment of squeeze. It's actually a major Fibonacci level. And above that, you got to squeeze. Above that, we got to squeeze up. Okay, and even here, by the way, bounce here, pushed higher. Now, another major level here to look out for is 550. Just take a look. Okay, I delete this. Delete that, delete this. Another major level is that because notice after each time, we came up to that level, came right up into that level. So if that's going to be the case from a Fibonacci perspective, that's going to be great. There is one roadblock in the way for NIO that I'm still watching. Please don't hate me because I'm actually watching that, but that is essentially what I see. There's your roadblock. Do you guys see it? I'm going to explain it to you. Prior to this being, so I've always described this as the line in the sand when we broke below here. But prior to that, this was the previous line in the sand. And if you take a look, support. So in order for us to remain more bullish and to see NIO make the right steps, now that it reclaimed, what was that? It was 370, 380. It now needs to reclaim this 430 zone. It has to reclaim that zone. Otherwise, you open the gates to a potential bearish pathway here. If you got to open them. So if you want to be like, all right, when is the coast is clear? You want that. If you get that, and especially you get that next week, wow, I think everybody's going to be in for a huge squeeze, huge treat, because now we're reclaiming this major support trend and it's looking great. Likely if it did that, that would obviously take it above 409 too, which is a major level. And I think you would get like that squeeze right up into that 550 zone immediately. I think it would happen very, very, very fast. But if it doesn't, it opens the gates for a potential breakdown. Now, I want to actually draw this out here. I'm not saying it's going to do that, but that's a possibility here. I didn't do the magnet here very nicely. It makes a difference with the price targets and what you're looking at. So you do that. Bring it down. Take a peek. Okay, so it's still looking kind of like you can see what NIO needs to do now, right? It needs to get above here. And if it doesn't, you could see it get pulled down here into 246. This sounds crazy. That is legitimate. Like if the worst happens, $6. But this is what the chart says. This is not what I say. And of course, the same is in reverse is true. And to be fair to the bulls, right? If it gets above here, you're looking at 8. But if you're trying to get bullish and swing this into 8, you want to see that give you a confirmation and break above. And it has not given you the confirmation. You want to see that happen. Above 409, above this trend line, get the pullback. Maybe it swings right down, back down. 430, reclaims 430 support. You want to see that. And to be fair to the bulls, you can get that. You can still see a big squeeze. It's a possibility, but it's not that the ingredients are not there for me. Yeah. And because of that, I still remain a little bit to the cautious side. And there's some confluence with that. So if I look at the velocity here, I was talking about this. I talked about the previous week. I talked about every other week here. And I'm zooming in here so we can actually see just the yellow line here. Now, sorry if I'm being obnoxious zooming it in, but maybe want to point out this yellow, which is a 200-day moving average, made a lower low. Where did we see that again? The last time we saw that, I mean, this was a lower low. And what was the end result of that when you made the lower low? The end result is it ended up being a short-lived rally followed by lower. And we saw that here too. Short-lived rally followed by lowers. So you're not completely out of the picture here. Now, if I also were to look at velocity, here's another thing that kind of gives me confidence. Like I'm skeptical. I'm not fully buying this. And with NIO, you have to be careful. I've been trading it. I've been trading NIO, by the way, since 2023. And when I made this, when I was trading here and I was tweeting about it, and I don't even know if the tweets exist anymore because I think like some of those tweets got, I don't know where they went, but as they went down here into this range, everyone's calling for these huge upside targets, and I was one of the few calling for downside. And I got called like, "Oh, you're a bear, you're an idiot," and then and I only had like 300 or 400 followers at the time, so, and I was kind of new tweeting about NIO, but I was like, guys, like, this is looking not good. It broke the velocity. Actually, sorry, it was right here. I was like, oh, this looks pretty rough. Right around 4,660. And I'm like, if the worst happens, it can happen. And it did. It reached the bottom of that trend line. $5 actually is what it did. Which is just, it's crazy. And now, and I was calling these low targets, and nobody was really calling those low targets at the time. And I got clowned right at this level, calling low targets, and it happened. Now, I'm calling it again here as a possibility, and it's going to be the same people who just don't want to hear it, who don't want to believe it. It's definitely a possibility. You see something very similar that could happen here. We're not out of the woods. For bulls to really, like, for me to get like super duper bullish, and without a doubt, it needs to get above that level. So you got to exercise patience here in this setup here. No need to rush here. It's still below. It's still below this trend line here. I actually do that nice. It's still below this, so it could still be a downtrend. It's also still below this. Still below both of them. You gotta be cautious. You gotta be careful until you get that break. And most importantly here, if I were to copy and paste that and put that here in the same manner how you had oh no, it was, I think it was, how did I do it? I forget how I did it again. In the same manner like this. I mean, you can even go, I think you can even do it like this. I think it worked like this too. You take that big channel. And it reached the bottom. So I'm not saying it's going to do that, but you got to entertain that as a possibility. Okay, guys. And I don't even think it touched it. There's still room for upside. I didn't actually draw this chart perfect. Got to use the magnet tool to get it perfect. That's what I see for NIO, guys. It needs to get above that line. That's for me to kind of get extra bullish. Now, I will say I did, and I tweeted about this, like it's looking more bullish. It broke above this, and I'll give it that. It did break above that, but for me to actually get confirmation, because this was just your line in the sand. Now it needs to reclaim this uptrend line, and if it does that, you could be in for like a big squeeze. Now, here's also what holds it against it. What's working against it right now is number one, lower 200-day moving average. Number two, we haven't gotten a velocity break on the daily time frame. Notice how over here, and I'm drawing this out here, when you did get like that, this consolidation move, it stayed below the trend line, okay? And we didn't get a break. And now we're kind of in a similar boat, similar situation. We're below the trend line. We don't actually have that break here, actually. We also have a lower 200-day moving average actually here, which does open the gates to potentially seeing a lower. So there's some confluence that this is still part of a dead cat bounce, but it might not be. It might not be. But again, if the reason I tell you this is if you are somebody looking to like add to your position, dollar cost average into your position, and you're trying to be risk adverse here, and you're trying to just add when it makes the most sense. If you wanted to, there's two levels that I'm going to be watching that I would watch for. Is I would watch for that break above here at 430, and I would also watch for that retest here of 409. You want to get it above 409. And it didn't get the close above 409. Did it close above 409 that day? It did. But it wasn't able to hold that. You got to be cautious still. Not completely out of the woods. And so what likely will happen as a possibility, given that there's a lot of uncertainty, healthy pullback, make that to support, maybe back up, bounce up, and it might be 435. Could that be potentially this? Before you get that, which would look like this. It's a possibility, guys. I'm just letting you know it's a possibility. Now, I know there's a lot of great things kind of coming out of China. That's coming out of everything. So perhaps this is wrong. Perhaps I got this all wrong. And if I am wrong, and this doesn't go lower, you will see that confirmation. So those are the two things that I want to see. I want to see above 409 and a hold. So here we go. I want to see this. If you're a bull, you want to see this. You want to see this. You want to see this, this. Almost. It's trying. Okay, so it's trying. And I suspect what you could see, if everything goes according to plan, is maybe it gives you a bigger pullback into the bottom of that trend line. I suspect if you get that big move, you want it to come back down, hold that level, 409, and up to 550. 550 is a big level. But again, it has to, and a hold above 409, in my opinion, that's just so bullish. If it gets back above, you likely get something like this. Beep. And it either rejects here or, like, you know, if it doesn't, then it's off to the next big level, guys. Right? There you have it. That's my analysis. And to sum that up, because I talked about a lot, because I know I can kind of make things a bit confusing. I'm watching this line right here, which is right around $4.30. Okay. I'm watching that. It's important. It's still technically from this channel and this setup, bears are still technically in control. From a velocity perspective, lower low. And it's looking like it could potentially set up a lower high. And you would want to see that swing down, right? It's looking still similar to me like this. And here's a last thing that's working against NIO. The last thing that's working against NIO, that this is the bottom. And I think that this could be a possibility. And this is probably the most craziest statistic. 90%. And actually, I would even argue if you exclude this downtrend, if you don't count this, every single downtrend on NIO before the reversal hit took it minimum 3 months. 100% of all the reversals took 3 months. Minimum. 90% actually happened within the first 3 to 4 months. And there was like one time it took 5 months, which was right over here. This took 5 months. 5 months for that big reversal. This right over here was, I think, might have been 4 months. This might have been 3 months. This was actually 4 months. I mean, you can keep going. This was 3 months right down there. That was maybe 4 months. That was 3 months. This was 3 months. This was 3 months. That was 3 months. It might have been 4 months, 3 months. This statistic is crazy on NIO, and if that's working against it, and so if it does it, it'll be an anomaly, I think, if it does do that. So that's another thing. It's another not a red flag, but another thing that's going against the fact that this actually might just reject here, and the bottom may not be in. And then again, you're looking, I think, late summer, because as far as range goes, if we were to go even like realistic, that 90-day mark, which is the 3 months, and it's closer to like 3.5 months, is right. I think it's around 114 days. It's going to be around June, end of June, July, and potentially if we went into like 4 months. Because if you look, even this bottomed on 130, which is 4 months, and then you do this, which was like, let's just say it bottomed at the 82-day mark. Let's just say like that's where the pain stops, but the run started at 110. Like, how are we going to fill that gap? Like, it would be a complete anomaly if it just decided to just keep pushing higher. And it keeps making me think like big moves like this, you don't get big, fast moves like this without like either retesting that low and giving you a double bottom. And so in a best case scenario, double bottom. Jeez, this is really hard to draw nicely and accurately. And again, if it's a fake out, and maybe it just takes time. Maybe this is the lowest you'll see it. It'll come back to potentially 367. Sorry, where is that line? Maybe that is the lowest, but maybe it might just linger and take longer. That would be a best case scenario. It doesn't have to go lower, but it does need it. Maybe it needs to just go through this accumulation again. Big money wants to accumulate as low as possible. They saw it come 3. Maybe it'll want to tap there and get 3, but it's going to take that time. But if you guys want to get that squeeze, that real big squeeze, it's going to come above that 420 zone, and it's also above 409. You want it to be support. It could happen fast too. So that's my thoughts when I just look at NIO. Squeeze up, hold, squeeze up. And where do they all squeeze to? 550. That is a big level. Okay. And it's getting there. Close. You can even see like it tried here and here. First 2 tries, couple attempts, couldn't get it. First attempt, it might take a couple attempts to kind of get. So it's trying to do it. And notice on the couple attempts, it did give you like that big 7% minus day. There's your line in the sand. And 9% to the bottom of that. You can see this, right? This is what you want to see. Above 409. In fact, this chart's so messy. Those are the 2 things that you want to see. Above 409 and above this trend line. Jesus. There we go. Has to be. I gotta use the magnet. You guys hear me out? And so you look at this. there's still an argument that there's still a bear case. Now, if you look also where it rejected also, it retraced 50% of the move. It retraced 50% of the move here. And so you could argue, and if you were to reverse the chart like this, you could say, oh yeah, look, it broke out. It's coming in for that retest. Is it going to make, you know, a bigger move to the downside? I don't think it's going to happen like that because like, there is a lot of momentum, but it's, you got to realize at some point this thing's going to pull back. 200-day moving average did make a lower low, which sucks, which would suggest that it would need to, you know, make another pull down lower before you get the big move, before you get the big squeeze. And if I were going just from here to here, and I want to turn that off, and we're looking at dates and times, and we're just watching that cycle, 190 days is the squeeze actually happened on. What the hell did it say? Sorry, 265 days from that date. June. So we're close. It's I mean, we're wrapping up May, April. We're going to be entering May here. If it's going to be similar, like, is it building up towards something like this and this? That's what I'm thinking. That's what I think about NIO right now. Okay. Although it's doing great, I don't think it's out of the woods here just yet. And then if you were to do my analysis on other tickers, let's take a look at BABA. This is a bear flag. Rising here on pretty low volume. Okay. And it's kind of almost in the same fashion. Broke under, rise up. It's rising up potentially up to 133. And it could be setting up for a bigger move lower. That's a possibility, or at least a double bottom. Dixie. It's still trying to break the 200-day moving average. It hasn't done that. And when it did, it based and then it launched. It did come down. We were watching Dixie for a long time, and when it broke, I was like, it might come to 98. It hit it. That is literally like where a dynamic support is. And so long as it doesn't break below here, like if it did break below here, if you want to see more downside and it broke lower, you would see 91 on the Dixie, which that's super bearish on the US dollar. And I think it's going to be a matter of time before this thing kind of rides back up higher. You're going to see 104 soon, which will be a nice move up for the US dollar. Which is like right around this range here. US dollar is suggesting that it might go higher. And then you look at Hang Seng Index. How big of a move did it retrace? It retraced approximately 50%. On this downtrend, it almost hit 50%. It did 0.382. And I want to point out something too. It also did it like this. It did it in 5. 1, 2, 3. That was your third wave, and that was like that. To me, that's 1. That's 2. 3. I don't know where 4 and 5 is going to be, but 3 would have to be lower than 1. Like it would imply that you're going to see way lower, like a big move. I'd hate to see it. I don't want to see it. It doesn't really line up with the narratives at all, to be honest. And to be perfectly fair, if I was being fair with the Hang Seng, it broke under and broke back above. It does need to come back and retest that zone. And if it does, and it's all's merry, all is well, you'll see that squeeze up into, you know, there's like a trend right there. Right back up into there. 25. you would see that. So Hang Seng's actually looking pretty okay, but it's not out of the woods. And then you look at the SPY. As I wrap things up, it actually broke out. This is a breakout. Every breakout comes with a pullback. So it's not fully complete yet. It might even push like way higher here. But at the same time here, I want to point out too, it also broke out here too. So is it going to be like one of those situations where, okay, maybe the next fib level is 568. So it does this. You get that trend. That was your lower high. Now that's your lower high pivot. Comes lower. You get another rally. Comes lower. And you want to know when it got to that bottom, by the way? I'm going to point out to something to you real quick here. This is our indicator velocity. Notice, I'm going to erase that. We're just going to, this makes it easier to look at. I want to point out some things here to you. Notice how when it gave you that big move from 340 up to 413, the velocity was at a 200, it was at a lower low. And here's when it made a higher low. First, it made a higher high, by the way, and made a higher low, and that marked the bottom. Now, I want to point out to you that it took out the previous lows here on the 200-day moving average. All right. So that could potentially imply big drop, another big drop before you kind of see the end of this. Some people are saying like, it's going to melt up. Maybe they're right. I don't think you can argue that. Right? Like, because you could also say this was just, you could argue, and I don't know why we're talking about SPY because I think it impacts the NIO. And I'm very interested in that, so I wanted to cover that. If that was one move, that was two. I mean, where the heck would be three go? It'd freaking go low. Would have to go more than the first. I don't know. So you could be coming, and it could be coming for this low right here. I don't know. That's just a possibility. That's like super bearish. And it might not be. It might not do any of that, but something is freaking weird, man, on the SPY. And if I'm wrong, if we're wrong, you know what will happen? Nothing. It'll break higher. It'll give you a pullback. It'll break higher again, and you can just get if you're wrong, you have the luxury of waiting for it to pull back. And these pullbacks are great because that's when it's going to be like super red. But that's pretty much it. That wraps up my video. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I'm out of time here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I want to hear your thoughts. If I left anything, if I didn't cover anything, let me know in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer those questions. Hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend. And don't forget to smash the like button and the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. Cheers and have a wonderful weekend.